Hey guys, and welcome to Limitless Potential, the podcast and YouTube channel. So today I'm going to be talking about becoming a millionaire, becoming financially free relatively early. Now, the reason I think this is a hugely important topic is because, to be honest, most of the conversations I have with my peer group are around how we become financially free. How do we set ourselves up within our 20s, our 30s to be able to enjoy, the money without the stress of having to worry about how we pay our mortgages or how we buy everything we want to buy for our children, in our late 30s, 40s, 50s, etc. So the first thing I'll say is I think it's really important that you surround yourself with people who have similar financial ambitions as you and are willing to share their journey with you. So are willing to have open conversations on how they're going about reaching those financial ambitions. A lot of people still, and a lot of societies frown upon talking about money and talking about financial ambition because they see it as arrogant, they see it as uncultured, they see it as distasteful. But especially now, given that we're kind of staring down the barrel of potentially quite aggressive recessionary periods, especially as we go into 2023, 2024, I think given the fact that there'll be opportunities to be had, given recession means asset prices, inevitably come down, and given we'll be in a recession, it'll be more important than ever to make sure we financially plan appropriately, so when we do inevitably come out of the recession, we've set ourselves up nicely to be able to go and really utilize from some of the opportunities available. I think it's important that you surround yourself with people who have similar financial ambitions. So the first of the 5 disciplines that I think have helped me on my road to becoming a millionaire before 35, which are definitely my ambitions, are maximizing my earnings in my 20s. So if you're a 20-year-old or your early 20s and you're listening to this, then I think this is hugely important. Make sure you try to maximize your earnings as much as possible within your 20s. And I know today that's a dangerous thing to say because there's a huge culture of burning out and overworking, and I'm not encouraging anyone to burn themselves out, but ultimately the way I see it is in your 20s you'll probably peak of the energy you'll have in your life. So really you need to utilize that to create a diversified array of multiple income streams that can help you in setting yourself up to really pushing on within your late 20s and your 30s. So the second is coupled to the first, is live modestly. Have a saving plan and keep yourself accountable. How much do you want to save a month? And I'll give you a quick example. If at the age of 20, and I know this is aggressive, not many 20-year-olds are in the position to be able to save £2,000 a month. But let's take £2,000 as an example, and you can flex it based on your situation, whether that be £300 a month, £800 a month, £1,500, whatever. If you can commit to saving £2,000 a month from the age of 20, that's £24,000 a year. By the age of 30, you would have £240,000 cash. Now, I don't know about you, but there's not many 30-year-olds that I know that have £240,000 cash. And given the example I've just talked through, I don't think it's completely unachievable. So ultimately, create a savings plan for yourself and keep yourself accountable. Live relatively modestly. I know there's this rhetoric around enjoying your life within your 20s, but that doesn't mean constantly living in an overdraft because you're going out every weekend spending £100 on alcohol, or you're going on holiday 3 times a year. Now, if that's what you want to do, then fine. Everybody's different, and some would argue that actually the person who does that has a better experience within their 20s than someone who doesn't. But ultimately, this video is about setting yourself up to really become financially free relatively early, and to be able to do that, you have to live relatively modestly within your 20s and stick to a sensible savings plan that will get you to your financial ambitions. So once you've earned multiple streams of income and you're saving this money, what do you do with it? The third is invest wisely. Now, this is a particularly opportunistic time to invest because as I say, entering or have entered into what looks like quite an aggressive recession. Asset prices have come down and they may continue to come down in 2023. So there will be great discounted opportunities to buy assets cheap, whether that be stocks, whether that be bonds, whether that be cryptocurrency, whether that be putting yourself into a fixed rate, etc. Whatever it is, that there are opportunities to invest and really see good returns on investment. The two warnings I would give you on investing is, one, be really careful when you play around with leverage. It's become easier than ever for retail investors to open up brokerage accounts and download their brokerage account onto their phone and start messing around with leverage. Be really careful, because you can really quickly spiral into getting yourself into margin call and losing everything you've invested. If you're not familiar with leverage trading, then that's something you can research. If you want me to do a video about it, I can, but be really careful when you're over leveraging or just using leverage, because typically most people over leverage and they end up losing a lot more than they are comfortable with losing. The second is, be really careful on this kind of meme stock economy. So jumping on the bandwagon of other stocks that are making other people rich, because as we've seen all too well through 2020, 2021, if you're late to that party, you will get burnt, and you'll get burnt quite significantly. So those are the first 3 points. Maximize your earnings, make sure you have a savings plan, and remain accountable to yourself on that savings plan. And the third is, invest what you're saving wisely, and invest the portion that you're comfortable with, right? Doesn't matter how secure the investment seems, there's always a possibility that that investment can reduce for a significant period of time. And if you don't want to crystallize that loss, that means you'll have that money tied up in that investment. So invest wisely. The fourth is to continue educating yourself. This is hugely important. I'm 30 years old now, and I'm sure people older than me will agree, there's nothing more threatening than a 22-year-old hitting your desk or hitting your team, joining your team and having more relevant skills than you, or being better at something that is relevant to the job than you, because automatically, they demand respect, and there's no reason why they shouldn't earn as much as you, even though you've been doing you've been doing the job 8 years longer. So continue educating yourself. It's something I probably didn't do enough. When I left school and when I left university, I kind of said to myself that was the end of learning, and that was a mistake. Ultimately, figure out what you want to achieve and where you want to go. Understand what the learning gap is, what the knowledge gap is, and fill that gap, whether that be through qualification, whether that be through just learning and courses, etc. Fill that gap and use your 20s to do that, because once you've filled that gap within your late 20s, within your early 30s, you can really see your income accelerate, and you can really see that monthly savings increase, that commitment you make to yourself in terms of monthly savings increase. So those are the first 4. 1, maximize your earnings. 2, live modestly within your 20s or when you're young. The third is invest wisely and think relatively long term with your investments. I'm talking 5 to 10 years as opposed to 6 months. And the fourth is continue educating yourself, whether that be through qualifications, courses, reading books, speaking to people, more experienced people in the field. Continue educating yourself. The final point, the 5th point, is have a long-term plan which is broken down into shorter term plans. Now, if you can sit down with a blank piece of paper, and this will take more than one attempt. It's a difficult thing to do. It feels almost embarrassing, when you're in your early 20s, to sit down with a blank piece of paper and really vision out who you want to be and what you want your life to look like in 5 to 10 years. Then you can really start to kick in the power of manifestation. People talk about manifestation a lot, and I really do believe in it. I remember doing this when I was in my early 20s, sitting down and thinking, what do I want to have achieved in the next 5 to 10 years? And on my kind of blank piece of paper, property was a really interesting concept to me. So I said I want to own at least 3 to 5 properties by the age of 30. I want to be on X income. And lo and behold, I'm 30 years old now. I own 3 properties in London, and my income is that of what I wrote down when I was 20 to 22. And that might seem like coincidence. It may seem like I'm just saying it to complete the point, but it has happened. And there's been a load of instances in my life where I've thought about something I wanted to do, and miraculously, or not so miraculously, 2 to 3 years later, I'm that person. I'm who I visioned myself to be in that position. And it doesn't have to be a huge position of power. For example, I had no background in teaching or tutoring, and one of the things I've done over the last 10 years is tutor consistently, on average 10 kids a year. That means 10 children a week at £30 an hour, 10 hours a week at £30 an hour. That's £300 a week, about £1,200 a month. That's a pretty material side hustle, or it was, especially in my 20s, and it's allowed me to increase number two, the savings that I expect from myself every month. So have a long-term plan on what you want to achieve, the person you want to be, where you want your life to be, and really you'll start to see that manifest as time goes by. It won't happen overnight, but it will happen with time. And what's important is you break down that 5 to 10 year plan into 6 to 12 month chunks, and those 6 to 12 month chunks can be a lot more specific on the tasks you have to undertake to achieve that 5 to 10 year plan. And don't get me wrong, it's not a straight road. You won't have a 5 to 10 year plan and there'll be no detours and you'll achieve it and happy days, right? That 5 to 10 year plan has to be relatively high level, relatively flexible. It's more about who you see yourself becoming as opposed to what exactly you see yourself doing. The 6 to 12 month is more to do with what exactly you see yourself doing. That's the more specific plan. But the 5 to 10 year plan is who you see yourself becoming, the person you want to grow into. So those are the 5 points, and I hope that's helpful. Those are the disciplines that have definitely helped me be on track to become a millionaire in equity before the age of 35. Now, this channel is relatively new, guys, so if you want me to cover any of those points in more depth, which I inevitably will do as I create more content, then please let me know. So that's it for this episode, guys. If you have any questions, then please drop them down in the comments or send me an email. All my contact details are on the YouTube page. Peace.